Alpha type personalities where they just kind of come on and they don't really have a history of making good decisions and they're more just kind of like a jerk. Not allowing yourself to get jaded or moved. They come on like a hyena where they come around, they're laughing and they're trying to get you off kilter and trying to run the show, but a lion isn't
Mhm.
going to get up for a single hyena because they know that the hyena can't really do anything.
That's the thing that shifted everything for me. Today we have Noah Axel joining us. I really hope I said your name right. Did I say it right?
It's all
Okay.
good. Yep.
Awesome. I realized I've never actually said your last name out loud before ever. So super excited to have you with us.
I'm really excited to be here. Super honored to have me just to be on this podcast in general. Princess is one of the best salespeople that I have ever trained, and she gets a lot of training from other places. But just if you are tuning in, you are in the right place. You are learning from one of the best salespeople. She is coming up right now, and she's going to be one of the ones taking over the game. So you're in the right place.
I appreciate that. I'm supposed to be the one giving you an awesome intro. Okay, so let's flip the script here. I'm super excited to have you here because Noah is definitely like hands down one of the best sales leaders I've ever like worked with. Like he's managing one of the teams that I'm on, and he's actually single-handedly transformed my perspective on leadership, especially as it pertains to a specific type of prospect, one of the more difficult kinds of people. So I'm excited to ask you some questions, and you can, offer like your insights on this because I think it's a really interesting perspective and it's different. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna jump in and just start picking your brain. So um, what's your, I guess, what's your approach, to leading the conversation when it comes to alpha personalities? When they try to control the call from the very beginning.
When you say alpha personalities, I imagine there's like typically a few different type of prospects there. So there's someone who just comes on, they want the price, they're a total jerk, they have an attitude. Or another alpha who is highly successful. They just kind of want to run the call their way, but they have a history of making good decisions. So when you say alpha, like what is the actual type of alpha that comes to your mind when you ask this question?
Let's do let's do the person who's not, let's do both, but first the person who maybe hasn't had a lot of success, but they just kind of are a bully.
Yeah. And so the way that I want to approach this call is, and I'll put it in a frame, and I think this is something that you and I worked on a while back, and I think it made an impact on you. But okay, what the fudge? My ring light just went off. Yeah, with those alpha type personalities, where they just kind of come on and they don't really have a history of making good decisions, and they're more just kind of like a jerk. When I say a history of making good decisions, like they've been in their business for a long time and they're making 3 grand a month.
Mm,
And for those people, I think an analogy, kind of a frame that you and I worked on a while back is like not allowing yourself to get jaded or moved. They come on like a hyena where they come around, they're laughing and they're trying to get you off kilter and trying to run the show, but a lion isn't
mhm.
gonna get up for a single hyena because they know that the hyena can't really do anything to them.
Yes. I love that you brought up the lions and the hyenas because that's the thing that shifted everything for me. Looking at myself as, wait, I am a lion and they are hyenas. And that allows me to lead confidently, but also with poise, with strength, all of the things, right? To the point where I literally got a tattoo of a lion completely inspired by this. Big tattoo. And so it's a reminder every day. Like I need that reminder every day in my face, like you are a lion. So yes, continue.
No, yeah, and that really kind of sums it up. I guess the other thing too would like, and this just kind of goes into all of that when it comes to like seeing yourself that way and seeing them potentially as that they do have an inner lion in them somewhere, but they've been jaded, they've been hurt, they've been um, you know, I don't want to say scammed, but they've been burned in the past through another program. And so they come up with their guard up. And so one thing that you can just do is totally just diffuse the situation and just be like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. Happy to get into all of that. Totally go with the flow. and then take control of the call and show them, yeah, so we'll just dive in. I'm going to ask you some questions because at the end of the day, this may not be something that would work for you. And if it's not, I definitely don't want you to do it. And if it is, we can talk about that. But I do have a few questions first to really ask and make sure to see if this is something that's actually going to be beneficial to you. So my first question really is, what do you need help with?
Yeah.
And just diffusing the situation, making it not a big deal. Um, to stack on to that, how we respond really determines how the prospect is going to respond. And what I mean by that is there was like a study done, and there's just a couple of experiments. If you have babies, you probably know this. But like these parents would walk out of a room carrying their baby, and they would hit the door with their hand on the way out and make a thumb, and then coddle the baby and be like, "Hey, it's okay, it's all right, it's all right." And then the baby would start crying
Yeah.
versus a baby takes a little spill and bonks their head and the parents go, yay, yay, is a happy fall, is a happy fall, and the baby starts laughing. So
Mm,
it's just so powerful to show how we react can really amplify a situation or diffuse a situation. And so very
yeah.
on beginning of the call, taking the approach of just totally diffusing the situation, absolutely no problem. We'll totally help you out with all of that. Really lowers.
That's perfect. Okay, I love the lion thing, but I really like this too because it's like it's a it's a great way to remind ourselves that we control the narrative here. So we can't fall into their frame. We create the frame. And that's the thing. It's the same thing with
100%.
babies. So it's interesting. So those people, it's like whatever works for you. If it works for you to think of it as they are hyenas, or if it works for you to think that they're babies, then either way, whatever works. I love that. Um,
100%.
what are some common mistakes that you see sales reps make when it comes to leading people who have a more dominant personality? And if you want to touch on this with like the other type of personality where they are really successful and they have that track record of making good decisions, that'd be helpful too.
Definitely knowing what type of prospect that you're dealing with. So to transition over to the more successful type, you don't want to treat this prospect like a typical prospect. And what I mean by that, and I don't want to say typical prospect because the prospect that you may be dealing with may be more of this type. But there's really two types of prospects. Prospects that are driven from a place of pain and survival, and then prospects that are driven from a place of like vision and goals and just success because they know they're capable of more. And so when you can identify early on which type of prospect you're talking to, a prospect that's trying to get out of a survival place and move into a place of like, not having to worry about when their bills are going to be paid,
Hmm.
or a prospect who's already really successful, you're going to talk to those two prospects in a very different way. You're not going to ask like heavy overarching pain questions when you're dealing with a highly successful prospect. You're going to ask them, what's really fueling you? Is it the vision that you have? Is it the fact that that you're capable of more? Or what really is it for you? And they're going to be like, yes, yes. What does that vision actually look like? And that's where their pain really lies, is in the vision of what they can create and what they can become, versus the pain of a hyena, let's say, and they just want to get out of a painful situation that they're in and stop being in more of a survival mindset and just a frame of life. So knowing what type
Hmm.
of prospect that you're talking to and not talking to successful prospects like you would a hyena or a less successful prospect is going to be one of the biggest things.
Right. So like their pain is more in it's like not being able to level up, right? Because they're doing okay. They're doing fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, like would you say that leveraging identity with those people is going to be the game changer on those calls?
For the more successful prospects,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can leverage identity, and I think the other thing too is like not leveraging, because typically these prospects are really smart. Like, and I guess it depends on the tier of prospect that we're talking about. But if you're talking with a successful person, they're really smart. And so you don't want to ask, too many identity questions or too many, pain type questions because they know this stuff. They're already good salespeople. They're already good
Hmm.
business people and they know this stuff. So I think just really getting a good understanding of where they're at and telling them why you want a good understanding because you want to partner together and make sure that it's a proper fit, giving them a good reason of why you're asking those identity questions and those vision questions, and then just kind of like leaving it there. If they give you good answers, like take those, take them at their word. If they're doing 50, 60, 70 grand a month in their consulting business, like they make good decisions. They know where they're at. And they know where they want to be. Now, it's a different thing if they've been stuck there for 3, 4, 5 years, then bad decision making has crept back in, especially if they haven't taken enough action to make those proper steps. So
Yeah.
it's all really just determining, like, okay, how much do I need to challenge this person versus how much do I need to trust this person that they already know how to make good decisions, and just really inform them and help them make the best decision for them.
Yeah, so that leads me to actually another question is when you are at the end of the call and you're kind of debating like how much do I challenge this person if they're not willing um to move forward and they're kind of there because at the end of the day, the most successful person, like even if you're making $1 million a month, like you're still a human, right?
Yeah.
So this the same fears and all the same objections will still come up. So with those people, do you just kind of like trust them to make the best decision, or do you feel like you still should kind of coach them through that process?
Yeah, so in that scenario, it really depends on that type of person. Again, if we're talking about the person who has a history of making really good decisions,
Yeah.
I'll understand why they want to go think about it. And they'll tell you, you don't have to ask like, why do you want to go think about it? But they're going to tell you why they're not making a decision right now, and whether that's running it past a business partner,
Yeah.
or just looking at their finances first. Like, yeah, you have to be able to read the room and like trust your gut. Like you did this the other day, and you closed the deal on this, like trusting your gut and letting the person come back and have that conversation with their husband, because if you push too hard, it was going to break that deal.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, if you've done your job and they're committed, they just need to go run it past their partner, or um, look at their finances, they end up closing if you've done a good job. And then you just
Mhm.
need to know when to push and when not to push, when to trust your gut there. And having a tuned gut to where you can really determine when to trust people, that's just going to come with reps. Getting on calls, listening to calls from your top performing reps in your company, getting on more calls yourself, allowing your gut to be tuned at the end of a call. Like, should I push? Should I not? Did they end up ghosting me? Should have pushed harder. Did they end up coming in? My gut was right. And
Mhm.
so it's really just experience and learning from those who are already ahead of you.
Yeah, I agree 1,000,000%. Like after taking hundreds of calls, I was able to like fine tune my EQ and trust my gut and like know who to push harder with and who to not. And it has served me. So yeah, I agree. And I think a big part of having a gut that you can trust is looking at yourself like I am the lion. I know what's best. I am the expert and I'm just going to stay calm. And yeah, your gut will like it'll lead you in the right direction as long as you're calm and you're focused and you're in that what's that state what I call it in that I guess flow state where you're really connected to the person and you're really there, instead of like freaking out and getting overwhelmed and getting like just being scared of the person because we are the lion. So I love that. Um so I want to ask you some questions about like leadership specifically because you are an incredible leader and you're just like you're so chill about it, but like you're able to manage such a high performing team. Like, I mean, not to toot our own horn, but like we're pretty awesome, you know? So first I want
You
to
guys
ask
are
you like,
totally awesome. You're
yeah.
totally awesome.
I'm curious, do you have like a personal leadership experience that maybe shaped your approach to how you lead sales teams?
That's a really good question. And when it comes to leading sales teams, there's really two sides of the coin that you have to lead. First and foremost, the salespeople. Like, you are responsible for leading the sales team. The other part of the leadership that you have to take into consideration is leading the business owner that has entrusted you to control and take over their sales team. Like,
Mhm.
they're relinquishing something seriously impactful and important in their business to me.
Yeah, so what strategies like specifically do you recommend for I guess maintaining a high performing sales team because month after month like we just keep hitting records and even like a newer rep that came onto the team like she was super green and she was able to like increase her close rate like crazy. I've never seen someone increase their close rate that quickly before,
Yeah.
especially being green.
Yeah.
So how like I don't know, like how is it that you maintain this and like I don't know, what are the strategies?
So, so one of the biggest things, one of the biggest takeaways for me that really impacts the quality of my sales teams is from a book that I was recommended to recently called Wink and Grow Rich by Roger Hamilton. And it was referred to me by one of the best leaders in the game right now, Chris Moore. You know Chris.
Yeah.
He's one of the best leaders out right now. And in this book, um, this kid goes on a journey to discover how to achieve wealth. And one of the first things that he learned, he gets 29 tips. And the first tip is ask better questions. How do I become a better leader? And I realized that, like, yeah, we can have salespeople come in and I can help them, drastically improve their close rate and make a bunch of money. And that's great. I'm really good at helping salespeople get better at, the trenches of sales, what to say, how to say it, why to say what you say. Um, but something that maintains longevity, and it's super cliche, but whenever I was asking myself that question, I came to the realization that I need to be a good leader, I need to care more about my salespeople's goals than I care about my own. And so, and that just wraps into the cliche of like people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. And
Yeah.
so I've really had to implement like caring for my salespeople and their goals, even above my own, and helping them achieve those things. Because yeah, I can teach someone how to, perform at sales, but when they're, breaking records or in a rut, the thing that's going to be able to push them past, a record that they just broke or get out of a rut faster is them knowing how much I care amidst, being able to help them in the trenches. Because when you're in a rut, it doesn't, if you've ever been there in sales, you know that it's not really like what you say. You have to search deeper of like why you're truly in that rut and get out sooner.
Yeah,
And if they
definitely.
know that you care about them deeper than just like making money, then they're going to be more willing to follow you and take your hand and be helped out of that mud rather than stay in there for a really long time. And
That makes a ton of sense. That makes a ton of sense because that's how, yeah, I feel like you truly care about us as people. And like, I feel like I can come to you and be like, hey, I'm really struggling. And I can't even count how many times I've like cried in our meetings because, yeah, it's like, it's a safe place. And I feel like you genuinely do care about us first. And then, of course, like the bottom line, the business's bottom line. So, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I'm curious, what, so that's one key quality, right? Are there any other qualities that you feel like would make a really successful leader for someone who's thinking, I want to actually lead sales teams? What are some traits that they should have to be successful, and how can someone actually develop those traits?
it's a really good question. Um, a few things that I would highlight there. Number one is approach the business as a, sales manager, as if this was your own business. Approach this business as if it were your own. And so do the things that need to be done that can really move the needle for the business and not just like what's required of you. Um, Another thing too, again, shout out to Chris Moore. Um, he told me the other day, focusing on being better at what you do is a lot better than trying to get more or make more money.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so when you just have that introspective um, perspective, you're constantly just trying to get better at what you do and the money's going to follow. When you stop trying to just make money, you start asking yourself again better questions of like, okay, what can really move the needle right now in this game of sales management? What can really move the needle for this prospect, for this uh sales rep who's in the mud? How can I really push a sales rep who's just shattered a record and keep them motivated to keep going further? So again, it also just comes down to like asking yourself better questions. I don't know if that answers your question. Um,
Yeah, just being willing to look inward and yeah, like look, yeah, treating the business like it's yours. That's huge. That's something I've actually never heard before, but yeah, that makes sense. I haven't heard it in this context. I've heard it in the context of like, when you're interviewing for a role on a, as a sales rep, but that makes sense too as a manager, like you got to look at the whole picture and care about the full picture as if it's yours.
Another thing to like just stack on top of like focusing on being better at what you do is a lot better than trying to be focused on getting more, is just like learn from good leaders. Find someone that you can follow, that you align with, and is someone where you ultimately want to be at in 5 to 10 years, at least like financially or leadership wise. It doesn't have to align in every area, but someone that you can really like sink your teeth into and follow.
Mhm.
Study them, ask them high quality questions, and bring value to their life any way that you can. That's going to be like also one of the biggest needle movers. Because just like in sales, you don't just come in and do this by yourself. You study call reviews and you learn from leaders and you get better and you ask questions. It's the same thing for leadership, finding someone that you can really sink your teeth into.
Is there any advice that you would give someone who's actually looking to transition from a sales rep role to a sales manager role? Because I know it's different because you're not getting immediate gratification like every hour. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. Um, Dean Kazora, he has a really good podcast and talks a lot about this. But just to bounce off something that he says is like really figure out why you want to get into management in the first place. Um, because obviously there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that versus like just being responsible for your own production, your own wallet, your own numbers. So really
Yeah.
figure out if you want to heap that onto yourself. And if you do, again, study someone who's in that position, learn from them, ask good questions, and decrease the pain period it takes from going to being a beginner or a bad leader to a mediocre leader to a great leader. Study someone, listen to podcasts, listen to those leaders. Dean Kazora on Facebook, he's got a podcast literally about this, and there's just a lot of sales teams. I'd go there, and again, Chris Moore, fantastic leader. Instagram and YouTube, it's Chris Moore Speaks. That's someone that I learn from daily, and I would give him a follow and consume some of his content if that's really what you want him to do.
Awesome. Yeah, I also second that. Like Chris Moore is an incredible leader. I'm curious, do you have a sales horror story? This is a new segment I'm doing with guests where share a horror story. It could be something that where it was just a train wreck and maybe you have some insights from it, maybe you don't, maybe there were lessons learned, maybe there weren't, but I'm really curious.
Just to name a few, I wouldn't call this a horror story, but it was just weird. I took a call one time and this guy hops on Zoom and he's like tucked under the covers. And he's like just in bed, like eating some snacks. And I'm just like, what's going on here? But I don't let him get the best of me. I don't let the, hyena get the best of me. I just remain cool. I'm like, hey man, but I had to address it because it's just like,
Yeah.
how productive of a conversation can you have? And so I'm like, hey dude, what's up? What's going on? Do you typically take your business calls laying down in bed? And he's like, I don't know. I've never had one of these before. And I'm like, okay. Do you have anything to take notes with? He's like, I don't know. Should I? And I'm like, is the call important to you? Do
Yeah.
you plan on getting any value out of it today? Yeah. Let me go get some. And so he gets out of bed and the dude's just completely naked.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh, that I was not expecting that. Okay. Wow.
yeah. So that was a weird one.
Did he not
Um,
like understand how Zoom worked, that it was a camera? Like,
weird call. Weird
okay.
call. And then like, I was at AT&T selling, on
Wait,
the
wait, hold on,
iPad.
hold on. I need to know. Did you end up like selling the guy, pitching him and everything?
No, I hung up.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
I,
I would do
I
that
hung
too.
up right away and I'm just like, dude, I'm not doing this. Like,
Oh, my eyes.
yeah, like
Okay. Yeah.
I'm done. And he texted me like 20 times after that. He blew me up. He was like, dude, I really want to have this call. I'm super serious about it. I'm like, who
It's
are
so funny. Yeah, it's usually the wackiest people who have like the highest intent, like they really want to do this, and it's just like a few screws are missing. But wow, okay.
on my first offer, things were really going downhill. Just in the company internally, I was still making good money. I was still hitting my numbers, but a majority of the team was not. And so they shut off paid ads completely for over a month. Like we were just harvesting 4, 5, 6 year old Facebook group leads, and that's all we were
Wow.
talking to. And I mean, we were talking to 35-year-old basement dwellers consistently. Like
Oh, wow.
it was crazy. And you think your leads are bad, not Princess. Whoever's watching this, no, I'm telling you, this was insane.
Oh my goodness.
And this lasted for like a month. And so just to encourage you, if anyone who ever wants to use the excuse that the leads are bad,
Yep.
like save yourself some time and don't. Because what I did, and I just took this opportunity to learn how to sell anyone. If I can
Good.
if I
Yes.
can sell a 35-year-old basement dweller who's absolutely broke or completely unmotivated and has no vision, I can sell someone who has even a shred of intent. And so really just took it upon myself to sell a ton of people. And at that point, like you have to sell them on the idea of, in that case was becoming a coach because we helped coaches and consultants grow their business. So I had to sell them first on the idea of becoming a coach and consultant and leverage one of the skills that they had in their life to help people in that way and inspire them first and then take them from that level to wanting to be a coach and charge high ticket and making money and having an influence. And so, yeah, the horror story of that was, leads just completely no marketing
Yeah.
whatsoever.
And the fact that
But
it was like for what months that you've dealt with this? That's nuts.
over a
Like
month,
over a
probably
month.
wasn't 2 months, but over a month and a week of high ticket sales on Zoom or on the phone
Yeah.
can feel very long. And so a month of that, it
Yeah.
was it was a
That's
grind, but
truly
I learned a
that's
lot.
I bet. I mean, that's a nightmare, but you took the lemons and you turned them into lemonade. So that goes to show no matter what the situation is, you can make the best of it and you can use it as a learning opportunity, training opportunity.
Yeah,
So
100%.
that's awesome. I want to do what I'm calling right now my rapid fire question segment. That's not, it's a pretty, it's not the best name. So if anyone can think of a better name for this segment, like let me know. I feel like I'm not creative in that department. But I want to ask you some rapid fire questions, and you've got to answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Okay.
Just like, are we doing one word answers or just
Um, no, it
whatever?
could be a
Or
phrase. It could be a phrase. Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Ready?
All right, I guess so. I'm not really entirely ready, but let's just do it.
Yeah. Okay. So if if a sales pitch was a stand-up comedy routine, what would be the punchline?
The sales pitch was a stand-up
Yeah.
comedy.
You're thinking too long.
Yeah, I'm thinking way too long. I have no freaking clue.
You don't listen to stand-up comedy? Come on.
I
It's
don't.
not like
Yeah,
it's
so that's
easy.
that's probably why.
You
I
don't
don't
watch it?
listen to stand-up comedy at all.
Okay. Okay, fine.
Uh,
Well, my answer, the first thing I came to mind when I thought of the question was the price. The price point when you drop the investment. Because like I've had people laugh before when I drop the investment. They're like, oh, like okay. So I would say that. Okay, let's do better this time. Okay, let's do better. I
okay,
have a few
yeah,
more
no, no, no.
questions.
I'm
All right,
here. Don't
you got
show
this.
anyone that one.
You got
Don't
this,
show
Noah.
anyone.
No, I'm keeping this. You got this. All right. So, if industries were sports teams, right? Okay, this is a kind of a convoluted one. It kind of like took me a second to like create it, but I feel like it's good. Maybe it's terrible. Okay.
Yeah.
If industries were sports teams, what would be sales as a team? What would be our mascot? So, sales industry, what would be our mascot? Go, 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 go.
Monopoly Man. The Monopoly
Monopoly
Man.
Man. Okay, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes
I
sense.
mean, if I'm just rapid fire here, first thing came to mind, Monopoly Man.
Yeah,
100%.
I don't love how that looks, but I mean, does he have a good reputation? Is he a good guy or I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, would we
totally.
like him? Okay, good. Good. As long as we like him. Okay,
I
cool.
mean, unless there's some backstory that I have no idea about and he's just a
I don't
terrible
know.
person.
I
I
hope
don't
he's
care.
not a terrible person.
The guy's a
Okay,
heck of a salesman. He owns all the properties. He collects rent on everything. The dude's a
that's true.
bajillionaire. He's a legend.
Closing
Absolutely.
deals for days. Okay.
Closing deals every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
What about you?
First thing that came to mind for me was lion. I mean, always and forever, lion. That's our
Love it.
mascot. Yeah.
Love
If you had a theme song every time you walked into a room, like a theme song play, what would it be?
Oh gosh, thinking too long.
Yeah. Come on, man. What's your theme song? I feel like we all have one.
What's your theme song?
Mine is Eye of the Tiger.
Love it. It's intense.
Yeah. It's in theme with the lions. Okay, go, go, go. Noah, you're sucking at this. Come on, man.
I don't know that I don't know that I have a theme song. Yeah, I don't know that I have a theme song. I don't have
Um, I feel like it would be something super chill, like some lo-fi, like
lo-fi.
yes.
Wow.
Like think of just imagine like if you were a wrestler and you were like coming out to the into the ring. like
Okay.
like think about when you were a deal maker and you were just like because first of all, this guy, guys, side note, this guy, I went to this deal maker event and his close rate was 100%. Like, what? I don't even think I don't know anyone else who can have 100% close rate at a live event. But
Well, hey,
yeah,
the influencer did a
so
phenomenal job selling the product. No one can sell it like Carl Allen and Chris
right.
Moore. No one can sell it like those guys can
Yeah.
sell. So they made my job really, really easy. But yeah, I forgot how much I loved in-person selling.
Yeah. So it's
Um,
actually thinking about that is what made me think of this question about the theme song because I feel like you were just walking around like a boss. Like every room you walked into, it was just like like just something playing.
Yeah,
um
when I'm in person, my feet are moving 1,000 miles an hour. I don't sit still. Like I'm just always moving. So whatever song correlates with that, that's the
yeah.
song. Some EDM. Some
EDM. Oh gosh, that's like the complete opposite of what I associate with
Yeah,
you. I think
it is not
lo-fi.
lo-fi. When I'm with a prospect, it's lo-fi, but
Yeah,
anything behind the scenes, it is just some freaking fast-paced EDM. Yeah,
interesting.
I'm 1,000 miles an hour behind the scenes, always.
Wow. Okay, speaking of which, speaking of the deal maker event and your 100% close rate, I'm curious, in your opinion, do you think that people who want to become a sales manager that they should have experience actually like selling on the ground first
Like, are you
or
saying in person or just even on calls
no,
or
it could be on person or virtually, it doesn't matter. Just have
I
that
mean,
experience. Yeah.
yeah, it's required. It's required. I mean, you're not gonna know how to speak your salespeople's language if you haven't
Mhm.
sold, at least in the arena or the space. You can't be a car sales manager if you've never sold cars before. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say you can't because I'm sure if uh, Bill Belichick came in and wanted to coach people on how to sell cars, people would listen to him because he's a phenomenal leader. Or Greg Popovich from the San Antonio Spurs, or Eric Spoelstra from the Miami Heat. Just some phenomenal coaches came in to teach people how to sell cars or how to sell high ticket. They have enough equity and communication skills with people to probably teach them how to sell anything. But
Okay.
otherwise, like if you're not talking about an absolute living legend, like you need to know what it feels, tastes, smells like to sell that product and have your boots on the ground. So yeah, absolutely. And
I
if it's not
agree.
even that product, it has to be that industry. Like
Okay.
a Nissan sales manager can go be a manager for a Ford dealer because he's sold the cars, he knows the language, but if you've never sold high ticket before, I don't think that you should get into high ticket sales management by any means. No.
Got it. Yeah, because it's a different process and everything, all the boots on the ground stuff is just a very different experience. So I agree. Yeah.
100%.
Okay, I have one last rapid fire question. Now, this one, don't think too long. Okay. This one, I'm actually going to put myself on the hot seat. Okay. So,
Okay.
Noah,
Yeah.
what's what's the habit that I have that if I stopped doing this would make me a better sales rep?
Well, at first I was gonna say follow up.
That's fair.
You don't love doing follow up, or you haven't in the past, I should say. But you've really challenged yourself recently to dig into that, and you've hit up your entire pipeline all the way back to September or October or something. So
Yeah.
I feel like you've crushed that. Otherwise, I was gonna say asking more questions, but when we're live on sales calls, you haven't run out of questions for 6 months straight.
Yeah.
So so maybe just asking the Slack channel more questions more often, daily,
Okay.
or if you
Okay.
have something, ask it. But yeah, I mean, as far as bad habits, you don't have a ton right now. And I think that stems from being so hungry to get
Mhm.
better at sales, to constantly learn and sharpen your axe. Like you never put the axe down to stop sharpening. So
Yeah. I appreciate that. And I think the reason I don't ask a ton of questions is just I'm very like self-sufficient, resourceful. So whenever I like run into stuff, I'm just like, let me just figure this out. Like, and I think that's how I am even like as a like even from with my mentor, like with Bill, like I'm I ask questions here and there, but like I'm pretty chill. I just figure it out. And I think that helps me to um like move faster in terms of my growth. So I don't know. Yeah.
So when you
Cool.
say you figure it out, like what's your kind of process for figuring it out on your own? Because for an average person listening to this, they might think, well, I need to leverage someone who has more experience than me for
Mhm.
that thing and figure it out through their eyes. So when you want to take it upon yourself to figure out, what does that process kind of look like?
So I okay, full transparency, this stems from a deeply rooted like insecurity about looking stupid. So that's why I'm like this. So when it comes to like being on the team, right? Whenever I get stuck with something, I just like I'll revisit an old training or I'll just be like, well, what would Nicole do? Like, just and figure it out, especially if it's something like on the spot. Like I'd rather just figure it out than take the time to like reach out and have an awkward moment if I'm like live on a call. That's why I rather just figure things out, get the deal done, and then ask for forgiveness later if I need to. But yeah.
What I'm kind of hearing is like you're just innovative. Like if you run into something, especially live, like you innovate. You don't wait to get an answer, especially if you're live on a call. Like you just
No,
make
I'm
something.
getting it done. Like we're making it happen. Like that's
Forget
it.
this later. And
Yeah.
I love that motto. Like, if you don't know if you can give someone a little bit of extra time, if you don't know that you can cut a payment plan, like just do it and get the deal done and get some momentum and then
Yeah.
just take the slap on the wrist later. And I'm not just
Yeah.
saying disobey your leader's orders, but if you don't know something, then like just do what it takes to get the deal done and be
Yeah.
innovative and then
Absolutely.
learn from the back end. So yeah, love that.
It's so awesome having you here, Noah. I really appreciate you coming on, and I hope that the audience really like they hold on to that lion imagery because or the baby one, whichever one works, because it really shifted things for me, and I think it could shift the game for you too, whoever's listening. With these more intimidating prospects, like remember you are a lion and they are hyenas, so carry yourself that way. You know.
Yeah.
Any parting words, any pieces of advice that you'd like to share for anyone out there who's maybe going through a rut right now? They're not helping as many people as they wish they could.
Yeah.
So, any advice for someone who's stuck right now?
Yeah, two things. Zoom out, and number two, ask yourself better questions. So zoom out. It's the rut that you're in is maybe a week or two, and you've been a great salesperson for how long now? You've been a top performer for how long now? Tom Brady's gone into a slump. Patrick Mahomes gone into a slump. Michael Jordan's been in slumps. And it's all about how you react to that and get out of that. And so part two is just ask yourself better questions. What is the one thing that I need right now to get out of this slump in the best way, in the most efficient and quick way possible? And you're going to find an answer that you need to do, whether it's reach out to a mentor, whether it's listen to more podcasts, whether it's get an accountability partner and have them slap you around and get you out of
Yeah.
your slump. Like just ask yourself better questions and zoom out. You're better than you think you are right now.
Yes. And if you need someone to slap you or just hold you accountable, DM me. I'm happy to do that. Okay. Um, and I actually let's make that the challenge of the week is to look inward and ask yourself that question. What is it that I need to do to close more deals, to help more people, to put myself in the position that I want to be in this month, to make this month a good month? So, yes, that is the challenge of the week. Every episode I end with a challenge. So, that's the challenge. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can do to get myself out of this rut? Thank you, Noah, for that question because I actually didn't have a challenge. So thank you. Um,
100%.
uh, yeah. And that being said, that's all I've got for you today. So if you haven't already, Please rate the episode, whether you liked it or not. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm here because I want to create the best experience for you guys. I want to offer value and bring people on who are going to do the same. So you can also subscribe to the podcast on whichever platform you're listening on so you don't miss my next episode. And you can also follow the podcast on Instagram. I'll link that in the show notes. And thank you for listening. And don't forget to hold yourself to a higher degree so that way you can be the most effective leader you can be. Till next time. Bye, guys.
See ya.